My sister planned a lavish wedding funded by our parents, but weeks before the big day, they handed me the bill. They had no idea what was coming next. I, 32, male, was the first child of my parents. My parents run a business in the healthcare industry. They were both involved in the business, which effectively left me parentless throughout my childhood. I rarely had intimate moments with my parents, and was always under the care of my nannies. My parents were also in the prime of their youth, so they preferred not to take the burden of parenting upon them. They led a lavish lifestyle, often spending more than what they earned, but since they both had hefty inheritances as a safety net, they always landed safely with their spendthrift habits. 8 years after my birth, my parents had a daughter, Emma. With the birth of Emma, it became clear to me that the negligence of my parents toward me was not because of their busy lifestyle. It was because they didn't like me enough to spend time with me. Over the years, I discovered multiple reasons to understand why this had been the case. I was a normal-looking child with average intelligence. I liked to keep to myself and talked only when I was talked to. Emma, on the other hand, was what my parents wanted to brand them as a perfect family in their business circles. She was a beautiful baby with blue eyes and curly golden hair. She got the best of both my parents and, even as a kid, she could grab the attention of a small crowd with her antics. Her addition branded my family as a perfect family. The special treatment and doting upon Emma doesn't mean that I had a hard life. I was privileged enough to attend an expensive private school and later an esteemed university. But the negligence that I faced during my life made me realize the need to work hard and earn respect. I worked my ass off in both school and university to grab a well-paying job. I worked hard at my job to progress forward as fast as I could. I still kept in contact with my parents, but the wound of childhood negligence never healed. Emma, being the golden child, was never forced by our parents to work hard. She was an average student in the first place, and that, coupled with how our parents spoiled her, led to her failing her classes. She stopped her education after high school, and our parents employed her at their enterprise. But even then, she was on leave for most days, and even when she came, she never stayed for more than a few hours. She had issues with all her coworkers, and people dreaded her presence in the workplace. I heard about Emma's temper tantrums in the office and the drama that followed them from friends and relatives back home. But what broke my heart was how my parents hid this from me. During one of the visits to my parents, after I had gotten my job and was well settled, I expected to have a chat with Emma on behalf of my parents. I thought an intervention at the family level would do her some good in her professional life. Emma was not present when I visited, and my parents made me feel like a fool by saying how half of their business was now being managed by Emma. I could feel that my parents were subtly comparing my achievements to those of Emma. That's when it hit me. For my parents, I'm the child who grew up without any interference from their side, and Emma was the child who grew up under their guidance. It would have been a shame for them that I was achieving more than Emma in life. At 19, I was already doing well in university, while my sister, now at the same age, was partying around. Nothing much changed in the consecutive years. Emma continued living off our parents, and I progressed forward in my career. Though I did not know the exact reason, the relationship between Emma and me had strained during these years. As an elder brother, I understood what she might be going through. Everyone around, except our parents, compared her life to mine. She was constantly asked to trace my path and be successful, but that was not what she wanted. These comparisons forced our parents to overcompensate, by promoting her unreasonably in their company and spending money at her demand. My sister was growing up without the ability to hold herself responsible for anything, and this was worrying me. But I had no space in her life to intervene and advise her. My parents had already pushed me out of their lives, as my presence outshone the presence of Emma during parties and family gatherings. Emma preferred that too. So I made a social circle of my own in the place where I lived. 2 years back, I met my wife, Danielle. Danielle worked in the fashion industry, something I thought I would never associate myself with. I had the worst fashion sense ever, and it still makes me wonder how a woman with such polished taste and style fell in love with me. Her entry into my life improved the way I presented myself, and that boosted my confidence. Strangely enough, the void left by my parents, which had remained unfilled since my early childhood, was finally filled. Danielle's presence let me explore parts of my character I had no idea existed. So it won't be an exaggeration to say that this woman is the best thing that has ever happened to me. After dating for a year, Danielle and I decided to get married. We both had very few intimate people to invite to the wedding, so we decided to make the ceremony grand. We planned a destination wedding, and after much research, debate, and discussion, finalized Venice as the venue. I don't want to get into the details of the ceremony, but we booked tickets for all the guests we invited and hosted them in the best rooms possible. The ceremony itself was a novelty for most of the people involved. Emma asked me to book tickets for her boyfriend as well, which I happily obliged, though Danielle had asked me to reconsider the decision. Throughout the wedding, I could see the flame of jealousy in Emma's eyes, and she was constantly being consoled by our mother. My parents were in awe of the wedding I had planned, but they made sure to keep their excitement to themselves. Even before the wedding, my family had avoided my attempts to hold a family dinner with Danielle. They continued to do this even after the wedding, so after a while, I gave up on the idea. Around the same time, I got to know that my parents were bad-mouthing me to people around them, claiming how I had used their money to complete my studies and get a job, but then left them in their old age. My father even commented that he was not going to leave me a single penny from his inheritance. My aunt on my father's side, who has always been on my side, was kind enough to warn me about what had been happening at home. It would be a lie if I said it didn't hurt. Losing your family is a big deal. Danielle helped me through that painful phase. A few months back, I got to know that my sister was planning her wedding. My aunt told me that Emma had been awestruck by my wedding and wanted something similar for herself. She made her boyfriend propose to her and began designing a flamboyant wedding in Tuscany. But both she and her boyfriend were broke, so she asked our parents to fund her wedding. To nobody's surprise, they gleefully accepted her request. But they couldn't afford a Tuscany wedding, so they asked her to shift the location to Hawaii. After much resistance, my sister finally gave in, and she designed an exuberant wedding in Hawaii. Throughout this planning period, neither my parents nor my sister cared to involve me in any way. I even met them once while this was happening, but they kept completely silent about the wedding preparations. So I decided to accept the reality that I would be uninvited to my sister's wedding. To my surprise, a few weeks back, my parents invited Danielle and me to dinner at their house. This was the first time. They were inviting Danielle to their house, so my innocent mind thought that it would be the first step in mending my relationship with my parents. The dinner went fine, but after the dinner, my parents dropped the bomb. They said they had suffered some major losses in business, and had an expected lawsuit hanging over their heads like the sword of Damocles. At that point, they couldn't afford my sister's wedding. But at the same time, they couldn't let their daughter down. So they invited me over to request that I bear the cost of her wedding. The dinner wasn't a means to fix the issues between my parents and me. They were using me to make their golden child happy. I was furious on the inside. But without even consulting Danielle, I accepted their offer, on two conditions. First, I wanted to have full control over the design of the wedding. Second, I wanted to give a speech on the wedding day. They were slightly surprised, as I wasn't usually the one to give speeches, but they didn't care, since I was helping them preserve the esteem of their favorite child. Unlike my wedding, Emma's wedding was very crowded. Apart from her friends, family members from both sides of our parents' families were also invited. This was the perfect opportunity to speak my heart out, and that's exactly why I wanted to give the speech. The wedding day was today, and I could already see how dissatisfied Emma was with the arrangements I made. We had very different tastes, and I was sure that anything I chose would make her feel like it was a poor choice. But I wasn't there for her satisfaction. I was there to deliver my speech. So when the time came, I asked Danielle to record it. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, "I want to take a moment to thank my parents for giving me the opportunity to speak today." My parents looked at each other in confusion. They had expected me to say something about Emma, not them. You see, for years my parents have ignored me, I continued. They never supported me or showed me the love and affection they showed my sister. But now that they need something from me, they come crawling back. There was an uncomfortable silence in the room. My words sank in. My parents looked embarrassed, and Emma looked like she was about to cry. But I'm not bitter, I continued, smiling. In fact, I'm grateful. You see, this wedding has allowed me to show my parents just how successful and accomplished I am, and I have to say, it feels pretty good. I went on to give a speech about the differential treatment I suffered from my parents, and how it still hurt me, in the middle of all my successes and accomplishments. My parents sat there in silence, their faces red with embarrassment. As I finished the speech, I walked over to my sister and hugged her. I'm so happy for you, I said sincerely. I hope you have a wonderful life with your husband. And with that, I walked out of the reception with my wife, leaving my parents and sister behind. I drove back to my hotel room and have been sitting here in satisfaction. My parents have always painted themselves as the perfect parents, and that's a huge part of their reputation in our community. I'm happy that I finally got the space to tell the community how I was treated. But at the same time, I feel a bit guilty about using my sister's wedding for it. Am I the asshole for ruining my sister's wedding day by making a speech about the negligence? Update 1. A little before midnight, Emma came to the room I was staying in and hugged me tight. She was crying, which made me sob with her. Danielle went out of the room to give us privacy. She told me how she had never known about my side of the story and had always assumed I was not attached to the family. Our parents had also made snide comments about me to her ever since she was a kid, which instilled a negative image of me in her mind. I apologized to her for ruining her wedding day, to which she was very understanding, and even told me that our parents deserved it. This has been the most heartfelt conversation I've had with my sister since her birth. Update 2. A week has passed. I hadn't met my father or mother before I left Hawaii, but today my mom called me to say that Emma had stopped talking to my father. My speech had left such an impact on her. But my father found my speech aggressive and disrespectful. He decided to cut all ties with me. When Emma came to know about this, she stopped talking to him. My mother requested me to intervene somehow in this situation, as it was taking a toll on her. Update 3. Yesterday, I did the unthinkable. I invited all the members of the family to dinner and let them talk out their differences, successfully. From feeling orphaned and lost for the past 32 years, I now feel like I'm leading a family. During the dinner, I talked through the differences I had with my dad. And though he was stubborn to accept his mistakes, I knew that he realized he was not a good father to me. My mom apologized to me for not being available to me as a mother. I didn't turn out bad, so I didn't have any reason not to forgive her. By the time the dinner ended, I had made sure the issues between my sister and my dad were also resolved. It feels surreal to be involved in family matters. But my only fear is whether this will continue forward, or not. Comment from someone: Ash. Your family is just a bunch of rich a-holes who've been making money for generations and have no idea what to do with it. What's wrong with being raised by nannies, when people are leaving babies on the streets? You received love and care as a child. That's why you turned out fine and are now making a hefty amount that helped you afford 2 expensive weddings back to back. NTA, not the asshole, but you could have done this earlier instead of being a doormat for so many years. Hoping your family learns from their mistakes and learns to love healthfully. From your side, you should also learn to be more communicative, instead of waiting till the last moment to explode. Next story, separate person. I'm 29, female. My fiancé is 31, male, and we're planning to get married next year. For some context, he is better off than me financially, no student debt, and a higher paying job. We have a good handle on splitting costs. He owns our home, so I pay the bills. My name is not and will never be on the title. This was a joint decision that I'm happy with. We also have a good arrangement for housework and chores. While no one gets married with the intention of getting divorced, it's important to be cautious. He asked me if I'd be willing to sign a prenup to protect his assets, and I happily agreed. In case the relationship goes south, bitterness could lead to unnecessary headaches and drama, so why not? He hired a lawyer and got the document ready. I've read it, it's fair. The problem is, for the document to be valid, I need to hire my own lawyer to review and sign off on it. That costs about $1,500. While I'm not exactly broke, I also don't have that much money to spare. I told him that I don't think it's fair for me to drop $1,500 for a document that's mainly for his sake. Basically, I'll definitely sign it, but I expect him to pay for my lawyer if he wants it done. He's very upset with me and is accusing me of going back on my word and making excuses not to sign the prenup. That is not the case. I'd sign it right now if it were valid without a lawyer. We're at an awkward impasse, so AITA for not wanting to pay out of pocket for a document he wants? I don't want it, but I'm not offended by it, and I sure as heck don't want to blow a lot of money on it. Marriage is already expensive enough. Edit to add. I pay for groceries and split the electricity and internet bills with him. He pays fees, taxes, maintenance, etc. Final edit for now. Thanks for all the comments. I'm reading every single one, and I have a lot to think about. I was raised to be very independent, and I earn everything I have. I suppose I'm so scared of coming across as using him for his money. He's not rich, by the way. Think of my income as lower middle class and his as upper middle class, that I might be going too far in the opposite direction. Top comment summary. *NTA. He's kind of the a-hole for accusing you of having ulterior motives. Unfortunately, both of you are victims of the legal requirements around prenups. For the document to be valid, you must hire and pay your own attorney. If he pays for your lawyer directly, the prenup might be challenged later due to conflict of interest. Solution: you pay the lawyer directly, but he can informally reimburse you, e.g., by covering other shared expenses like rent, utilities, or groceries for a few months. That way, your attorney stays independent, and there's no official conflict. Another valid point: you're paying regular bills for a house you'll never legally own, your name won't ever be on the title. That raises concerns. You're calling it our home, but it doesn't sound like it ever will be. It's worth thinking long and hard about this dynamic. If he refuses to pay for something that's solely for his benefit, that's a red flag. Recommendation: find your own attorney, preferably one who specializes in family law, even if you have to arrange a payment plan or take a small loan. A prenup should protect you too, especially if you ever have kids. It's not just his protection, it's yours.